think so. Let's go get a championship, baby.
A record-tying season in the Cup Series, 19 different winners. But now it's the final practice session for the Cup Series here at Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. Alongside our crew chief, Steve Letarte, Rick Allen with you. And Steve, it has been an amazing season in the sense that we've seen things that we thought we would never see. And I think that was there was an exclamation point put on it last weekend when we saw Ross Chastain probably win more fans than he could have ever dreamt of getting by winning or running his way into the championship four.
Well, he deserves the notoriety. It was a move above any other move I've ever seen in my lifetime of watching races. It was a captivating move, and that really has defined Ross Chastain and this entire team. Why not? That's what they said back in February. Why not them? And once again, he proved, well, why not the one? He goes down, coming to the checkered flag at Martinsville, a track where you lift and you get on the brakes and you run the wall. That's not sped up. That's not doctored. That is the one car going twice as fast. 60 miles an hour faster than the cars on the bottom of the racetrack. We talked to him this week. His first-hand description was mind-blowing. Yeah. So now you ask yourself, is that the momentum? Is that move going to carry him to a championship? Well, first, it's practice. We'll see here. We haven't seen much practice this year. I'm excited to see how this car performs. The first race was so long back in the spring.
Yeah, let's bring in our drivers, Hall of Famer Dale Earnhardt Jr., as well as the mayor, Jeff Burton. Okay, guys, Christopher Bell. Here's another driver in the championship four. He has had to win his way to advance into the different rounds. Well, he won his way into the champ four. Now, is he one of the ones that we look at as far as momentum?
I think so. I think Christopher Bell, what he's done in these playoffs, and even coming to the playoffs, they had a lot of speed. They said, we're the best car at Gibbs. We have the most speed at Gibbs. And I thought that was showing how much confidence they had. But then be in the position 2 times in the playoffs where you have to win or you're out, and then they delivered. That's a big-time step up by he and his team. I personally think this team is the favorite coming here.
We're going to find out here during this practice. This is such a tough situation for their nerves and anxiety, because really they're going to understand in a unique situation this weekend how they stack up before the race begins. Typically with limited practice, we don't really understand what car is going to be the dominant or what car might be the favorite as far as speed and pace. So some guys are going to be really happy about their chances post-practice. Others will be in panic mode.
See the championship four again. That is the big news coming into this weekend, but also making huge headlines was 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson making an announcement. He is coming back to NASCAR and now has come back as a co-owner.
They're very excited today to announce that 7-time Cup champion Mr. Jimmie Johnson is going to be joining Petty GMS as an owner and a competitor.
Stepping away from full-time IndyCar, I wanted to create, a good 8 to 10 race schedule of just really fun races, and certainly coming back to NASCAR. And as this conversation started, it's one that I really had to pay close attention to, and an opportunity that it's just a life-changing opportunity for me, and one that I had to take. So I'm very excited about this.
From my standpoint, it's a big step, not just for 1 year, but I'm looking farther down the road. If Jimmy comes in, does his deal, I'm 85 years old, so I'm not going to be here for another 15 or 20 years, and then Jimmy can kind of take over. So that had to be a plus.
2 7-time champions as a part of the same team. That is really amazing.
Well, and then you think about the driver lineup next year. Right now it's Ty Dillon and Eric Jones. Starting next year, it'll be Eric Jones and Noah Gragson, 2 very young, very talented drivers. You heard actually it was Maury Gallagher, the Gallagher of GMS, who said a competitor as well, because Jimmy's going to run a handful of races. So I think it's going to be, first, great to see Jimmy in this next-gen car. Second, it's always great when a Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame level, 7-time champ comes back in ownership. I think that's great for the sport. But think about that knowledge those 2 young drivers are going to be able to lean on. Not specifically about the car, but what hasn't Jimmy done? What position hasn't he been in? We talk a lot about the pressure of championship weekend. Well, if they're fortunate enough to get here, you can lean on a guy who's done it. Say, hey, Jimmy, what should I expect? That's a big benefit for the whole organization.
He's going to spot the entire field a whole year in this next-gen car, so he's got a lot of catching up to do. That'll be tough learning curve, but Jimmy doesn't like to do anything easy.
I also think that what a great time in the sport where we have so many people that are raising their hands and say, I want ownership. I want to be part of this. I want to join NASCAR. Not that he's joining NASCAR, but he is as an owner. And you know, I don't know that I remember a time where we have so many people wanting to be involved. And it's fun to see a legend like Jimmy Johnson moving into car ownership. It's a great thing for Petty GMS, but even a better thing perhaps for the entire sport.
Riding along with the 20 right now, Christopher Bell, that Toyota onboard, giving us a look of coming out of turn 2 and the sun that they'll have to deal with here during this practice session, but it'll also be very prevalent during the race on Sunday as well. Dylan.
Well, you guys talked about Christopher Bell and the momentum that they undoubtedly have coming in to this weekend. And I talked to Christopher this weekend, and he made an interesting point. You know, we've talked about Joey Logano, how he won at Las Vegas and had a couple weeks off to, not off, but a couple weeks extra to prepare for this race. Christopher obviously didn't have that luxury, neither did this 20 team. But he said maybe that's a good thing because we haven't really been able to get complacent at all during this last kind of 4-race stretch of the playoffs. And we haven't even really had any time to enjoy the joy of advancing to the next round. They won when they had to at the Roval, and then it was right back to work the next week. They were in a hole after Vegas and had to win again, of course, last weekend at Martinsville. So while the results haven't been there in that stretch a couple of times, the kind of the mindset of we must win at all costs, no matter what it takes, is certainly prevalent in this 20 team. And I think Christopher feels like that mindset and the fact that they've had to do it a couple times already here in recent weeks is going to pay off for them this weekend here as they go after a championship.
Let's flash back to what Christopher Bell has been able to accomplish and what he needed to do in a must-win situation again, and he went out and got it.
Yeah, it was overshadowed by the Ross Chastain move we had talked about, but 2 walk-off wins in this playoffs with only 4 career wins. It was unbelievable. And our time with Christopher yesterday was perhaps the most beneficial to me. While I know Christopher Bell, we forget how young he is, 27 years old, but he just looked different. I know that sounds crazy, but we've been around him a lot and sitting at that conference table kind of talking about the year and what he's going to go do. He had this confidence to him that he was ready for this moment. I mean, his teammate lineup at Joe Gibbs Racing, think about this, right? Kyle Busch, 2-time champ. Truex, a champ. Denny Hamlin won everything but a championship. So forever, really by no one's doing, he was overlooked, overshadowed. Of course he was. His 3 teammates were huge stars. And there was this gleam to him to say, I am here. Me, Christopher Bell. I have won 2 races. And I'm excited. I think he is definitely ready for the moment.
When I asked him about coming in after the 2 huge wins that he had, I said, is that giving you momentum? And do you think you have an advantage with that? And he said, absolutely, I have an advantage. They feel like they are the best that they can possibly be right now, and that's what this championship pays. It's this one race that will determine who the champion will be. And when we talk momentum, I don't think there's anyone that could have more momentum, and I'm not saying that in a literal sense, but there was no more momentum on Martinsville racetrack than what Ross Chastain showed us last week. And so now here is a team, a young team with Trackhouse Racing, had Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, both of them just getting their first wins this year. Only 2 career wins for Ross Chastain, but he comes into this race with confidence.
All right, so Ross Chastain, we mentioned our time with Christopher Bell. He took us through this move, and he explained that this is nothing he had kind of considered beforehand. It was right here, coming off the corner, where he knew now that he needs 2 points. So this, he just decided. Right here, he goes to 5th gear, wide open throttle. And I want everyone to listen to this. He said about right here in the middle of the corner, his vision blurs. Between the lateral G and the shaking of the wall, he no longer can see where he's going. Then he thinks to himself, oh man, there's a crossover gate up here. He lets go of the steering wheel in case something awful happens catching that crossover gate. He told us that when it all kind of settled back out, he was making contact with the 6 at the start-finish line. My jaw was kind of on the table when he gave us a first-hand account of that. And then, Jeff, what did he say? A lot of talk, should there be a rule made? He kind of looked over and he goes, if somebody else wants to try it, let them, because I'm not sure I would do it again. It was so crazy.
Yeah, he was talking about just the sensation of speed. And when he said everything went blurry, I'm like, what? What do you mean? I mean, it was crazy how he described what it took to pull that off. He made it look easy, but it was anything but.
Well, he's fired off at the top of the sheet there, a couple tenths quicker than our other championship 4. Logano pops off a lap at a 27:10 on his 8th lap, guys. Most of these guys are running their quick lap at lap 2, 3, and 4. Logano looking like he's got some good long run speed.
Chase Elliott's down there in 10th, and right now Christopher Bell down in 15th. But yes, the first lap, Chastain has thrown down the gauntlet. Here comes Chase Elliott. Elliott has closed the gap. He's on the back bumper of the 22.
Get Kyle Larson in the lead on a close drag race.
What a pass, Chase Elliott for the lead in the championship. Larson has it. Chase Elliott is a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Kyle Larson is your 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Oh my God, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable.
And a champion will once again be crowned here at Phoenix Raceway. It takes place on Sunday. The countdown to green on NBC at 1:30 kicks us off. Then 3:30, Cup Series championship from right here at Phoenix Raceway. And it all wraps up on Peacock at 6 o'clock with NASCAR America post-race show. Parker.
Well, Rick, Joey Logano's here in the garage after completing 11 laps in his first run on track. And I spoke to Joey earlier today, and he told me one of the things that was on his mind was the question mark of this racetrack, just being that they didn't put as much traction compound down, what sort of lines we might see down in turns 1 and 2, what if the groove would even widen out down in 3 and 4. But then something happened that's never happened to me with Joey Logano, and I asked him, so what do you focus on in his practice? He said, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not telling anyone. And that's kind of the theme here for this 22 car I've been noticing is just secrecy. They're not saying much on the radio at all. When he was out there coming in, he didn't have any feedback on the car from the track. And then as they got in, obviously they get on the radios here inside and they'll talk to Paul Wolf there. So a lot of secrets down here. And guys, I just love this practice because they put all the Championship 4 cars right next to each other, all the competitors, and you can just sense the intensity amongst all these teams. And I think that 22 team right now is really embodying that with their secrecy about everything they're doing in this practice.
Well, Joey Logano on that team, they have more starts, more wins, more top 5s, top 10s, laps led here at this racetrack than all the other 3 do combined. So if you're going to come to a racetrack, I think this is the place Joey Logano would love to come and compete for a championship.
And interesting, the secrecy. Normally, you would tell a pit reporter, you would talk to them about, yeah, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do. But even in practice this week, they're trying to keep everything close to the vest.
I wouldn't have told him. He was going to tell the world.
I have been known to be a bit of a blabbermouth.
See, there you go, Parker.
Yeah, very true.
It might have went on social. Riding along with Chase Elliott, we saw just moments ago the championship that he won, becoming just the 3rd father-son combo to win championships in NASCAR.
You hear that shift every lap. We're going to hear it downshift into the corner. This is now 3 and 4. He's going to pick up the gas, and you're going to watch him about 2/3 of the way down the straightaway. He's going to reach over.
We're kind of, practicing right around or close to when the race would likely end. And so you kind of as a crew chief, Steve, what are you thinking about how you need your car to handle or how the track may change for the start of the race?
Well, unlike the Xfinity cars, which we just saw their practice with only 1 set of tires, these Cup guys get 3 sets of tires. So I really think, Dale, I'm going to use this first set for maybe some 7-8 lap runs. Then I'll put my second set of tires on. I'm going to try to make a 20 lap run, 15 or 20 lap run. And then I might put my 3rd set on and go make a qualifying run because qualifying is going to be so important here. So I think that's going to be the use of my tires. Now, what's the track going to be like? We still got an Xfinity Series race tomorrow. I would have to go back to, history notes, which has become more difficult because we haven't had a lot of practices over the last 2 or 3 years. So I think some of that experience of which direction you think the track's going to go, I would imagine the track overall would tighten up just over the course of the weekend like it always seems to.
Alex Bowman in this 48. Back for the final race of the year. Had a concussion. It took him out for a handful of races. And when I heard that he was coming back, I was really excited for Alex, because obviously he could have waited for next season. But when you go through any type of injury, I don't care what it is, you want to get back into the car. You need to be able to check that box and make sure that, yeah, I feel great. I'm understanding what the car is doing. So this is a great time for him. Obviously, his last race was Greg Ives as well, so something important for them two to share together this weekend. But having to wait to get back into the car all the way to next February would have been a long, long off season for this guy. Good chance for him to get out here and have a little fun this weekend before the year's over.
Alex, one of two that had to sit out for concussion-like symptoms, the other one being Kurt Busch, and then he announced that he wasn't going to race for the remainder of the 2022 season, and that he would potentially just run a limited schedule if he does come back in 2023.
And I won't lie, I was a little surprised to see Ty Gibbs still in that 23 car. I just think
for this weekend specifically.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like you, I'm so happy to see Alex back. But even if that wasn't able to be happen for Alex, it wouldn't have shocked me if Noah stepped out of this car to focus on the Xfinity car. Really, really surprising that we see Ty Gibbs, at least for me personally, in this 23. These cars, Cup to Xfinity, are so different. I just think, especially with the week that Ty's had, I think I would have let him kind of dial in and really focus on Saturday. But maybe he's more comfortable being in a race car. Maybe that's a more comfortable place for the young man.
Well, I think you could make an argument that being able to focus on the Xfinity car is probably a good thing. However, he's not going to spend this hour thinking about everything that happened last week or worrying about what's going on. This is what he's been doing. I mean, this is the same rhythm that he's been. So why change it? I know Noah, he didn't want to run the Cup race here. He wanted to just focus on the Xfinity race. But this isn't different for Ty Gibbs. It's the same thing he's been doing, so really the same rhythm. I think it's okay. I think if he felt strongly that he needed to focus on the Cup, on the Xfinity car, they would have found a way for him to be able to do that.
So again, Ty Gibbs filling in for Kurt Busch behind the wheel of the 23. And in this practice session, 35 minutes to go. Chastain continues to be fastest. Logano and Elliott in the top 10. It'll be the final race for Kyle Busch, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in such a historic organization. As a matter of fact, it was really three guys that got together and realized that there are a lot of dreams that could be fulfilled, including Jimmy Makar.
Jimmy, we're coming to the end of your tenure here at Joe Gibbs Racing, which you helped to start. What are your thoughts as this comes around now?
Well, I never thought 31 years later I'd be sitting here having this conversation with you and sitting in a building this size with 500 people here. So it was incredible to what it was when we started this race team back in '91 to what it's evolved into right now.
Now, I want to put this in the right perspective, what we were asking him to do. Yes. Financially, he looked after us. Race car-wise, he looked after us. And then you two guys gambling and saying, we're going to go with a guy that had been chasing footballs. And I think that part of it is just a fantastic story.
He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500.
I really picked Jimmy and Dale, and the rest of it, I got to give credit to everybody else.
As we look back at the start in '93, what did that mean to you to win the 500 that day?
I mean, it really was everything you could ever imagine.
And I think what it kind of said was, okay, maybe we can do this. And I think it gave us confidence as we went forward.
The way that the sport grew, the money that got involved in the sport to allow us to do things that we never could do before.
It was all on Jimmy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why today when we celebrate Jimmy and his life here and what he did for us, we wouldn't be here.
So much history. Our own Dale Jarrett there, a part of that, which so many monumental things that have happened through this Joe Gibbs Racing organization. And once again, the big news in 2022 was that Kyle Busch was not going to return to Joe Gibbs Racing. He will move over to Richard Childress Racing. That paint scheme, by the way, yes, it's M&M's and Mars, but it is made up of thousands of pictures of fans that have been sent in, and they are a part of Kyle Busch's final ride for Joe Gibbs Racing that will take place on Sunday.
And Jimmy Makar, such a integral part of that team, you know, 23 Cup wins, 2000 championship with Bobby Labonte. he's been a mainstay in this garage for a long time, and he is not only really good at what he does, he's just a really good person. And he's been very influential to a lot of people in this garage area.
See a few of those pictures on the 18 car. There's a lot of fans out there for Rowdy Busch. Parker.
Yeah, Rick, I actually took a look at that paint scheme up close. It's really beautiful, amazing what they put together there with those fans all over the race car. But a quick update on Chase Elliott. He did 25 laps in his first run, a very long run of all the championship contenders. And then when he got done, he did something interesting. He came down on pit road, did a full run through of pit road. They chimed it out. They told him basically the timing lines and where he would be on pit road throughout the whole time. And then came obviously into the pits here. And his only description of the car on the radio that we heard was solid. So pretty happy for Chase Elliott as they go through some changes here now, and it looks like getting ready to head back out for another run.
Well, finally, Alan, this 50 minutes will be orchestrated and used to a T, right? We're going to do this, then we're going to run pit road. I mean, there is a plan heading in. This isn't just to go see what we can learn in 50 minutes. There is a distinct plan for this 9 car that what they'll be following over the course of practice.
Steve, you referenced this just a moment ago as far as the tires. So as we look right now at the 10-lap average, are we going to see very many teams go out there and run 10 consecutive laps? Because now you've got 3 sets of tires. You're going to try different things, come in, make changes.
I think on the first set you are, but that second set I do think you're going to want to go make a 15-lap run. Call it 30 seconds a lap. You can make 20 laps in about 10 minutes. You'd want to be doing that here in the next 7 or 8 minutes. And I do believe we will see some qualifying runs at the end of this practice. I know that hasn't been done a lot here, but you have extra tires. You have to put the air pressure in it because qualifying makes just a huge, huge difference. That pit pick, arguably, could be one of many reasons, but one real reason why Kyle Larson was a champion here a year ago. You know, he won that race off pit road in the #1 pit stall. So qualifying is way more than just where you start, right? That pit road and the #1 pit stall here, less than 30 feet from the #1 pit stall to the camera. That is just a huge advantage if you're one of these playoff 4.
Chase Elliott brought that up when we were talking to him yesterday. He said, I definitely want to be able to have the shortest distance off pit road because it is an advantage.
And just so everyone understands, the rules do get tweaked a little bit. The 4 championship guys will pick an order. So however they qualify, say they're first, 10th, 25th, they don't pick 25th. They got to pick 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order in which they qualified versus each other. And I like that idea. The NASCAR's just, they've put them in such a pressure cooker making it one race. They were like, all right, well, I know everybody else has to be on the track, but let's try to keep it as fair as possible for these 4.
Chase back out on the track down into turn 3. Trying to see what he can do on his second run. A lot of guys have been in and out of the garage, like you was mentioning, Rick. But Chase had a pretty long run that first time out. See what his car would do and how it would fall off, what adjustments they can make. And
26 minutes is all that is remaining in practice from here at Phoenix. We look at the youngest championship 4 group of drivers ever. Take a look at the far right. Ross Chastain with 2 wins. There is only one driver who has ever won a championship, or won his first championship, with fewer wins. That was Bill Rexford back in 1950. Ross Chastain with 2 wins could potentially join Red Byron and Benny Parsons as the only champion to have just 2 wins before their first championship. Parker.
Well, as we go on board here, Joe Logano, who's on his 3rd run, just before he went back out on track, take a listen to what his team said on the radio earlier about pit road.
So our straightaway's good. We can bump a light from section 10 to 15, which is our 2 8 reds right there in the corner, all the way to where we go back to an 8 red. We are maxed out on our zone 16 now. So all of our decel we're maxed out at that run.
And essentially what that means is that as you go around the corner at the end of this pit road, you can go a little bit faster as you use longer distance around there. So you're trying to adjust those lights. And guys, I think this is the key, Steve, Jeff. I think this is what all the teams are talking about. And when I spoke to Paul Wolf, he said the only thing that worried him about this race was the details. Because when you look at the NASCAR Cup Series this year, this next-gen car, we see these lap times. It's so incredibly tight. He believes that this championship here on Sunday will come down to the finest of details and how you maximize those details, and especially on pit road. And it just seems like all these championship 4 teams are really just focusing on pit road intensely through this practice because you know it's going to be so important.
Well, we've seen it happen here. We saw last year Kyle Larson, his team delivered on the last pit stop, gave him a chance to win the championship. Brad Keselowski, the year that Chase Elliott won his championship, I think Brad actually had a better car, but they could not get the car off pit road. And we've seen pit struggles all year long and how much it matters. So, yes, pit road and all the little things will definitely make a difference.
Jeff, remember what Joey Logano said to us yesterday. He said that 2020 still eats at him. He had won the championship in 2018, was going for a second championship in 2020, thought they had the best car at the racetrack, but they had an issue. And he said that will continue to eat at him. And it might continue to eat at him even if he wins the championship this year. But he said he thought that they had the best car that year. So that is how important just everyone working together as a team successfully to get you to a championship is.
Ross Chastain on the racetrack right now, really running some great laps. This is his 3rd run on the racetrack. We see that he's toward the top of the sheet on fast lap, but at 10 lap average, at the 10 lap average, he's 10th. So they really needed to improve that car. Fired off really good, then it slowed down. He went back out and ran a 2nd run, a little bit better. This 3rd run, though, really impressive compared to like the 20 and the 22 car. Finding some good pace.
The best car on the racetrack, though, is Ryan Blaney. 10 lap average, you can see he's number 1. He's number 2 overall. I look at what Ryan Blaney's running right now with his lap times, and he has many more laps on his tires, and he can still make lap time as good as anybody. And so now, why is that important? Why does that matter? Because if you're Joey Logano and that team, and you're like, okay, we need a little bit. Well, that 12 car is flying. And you can go back and look at what they've got, learn from them, and be able to apply. That is the strength in having teammates, and the strength in having a teammates that is performing at a top level.
Well, so Rick, you mentioned the championship 4 drivers in the youngest group really ever. A couple of them are champions. It's almost the opposite when it goes to the top guys on top of the pit box, right? Alan Gustafson right here. He's the only one who's won a championship with his current driver. Now, Paul Wolf has a championship. Adam Stevens with 2 with Kyle Busch. But look at the wins. I mean, well over 100 wins between Alan, Paul, and Adam. Phil Surgeon, just not a lot of time. He's going to get there, I'm sure. I mean, him and Ross Chastain have been kind of redefining the, why not us strategy. But Alan right there, here's Adam Stevens climbing on top of the pit box. So there's a lot of bright minds in the garage area. But I don't think it's just coincidence that 3 of what are considered by their peers, 3 of the strongest minds, the best leaders, the most experienced, have the championships. In a year of a new car and so much unknown, those 3 made it to this race with a chance to win the championship, along with Phil Surgeon, for us, Chastain, kind of a newcomer on top of the pit box.
So Blaney leads the 5, 10, and 15 lap averages. Chastain still fastest for a lap. What a weekend we have in front of us. It all starts tomorrow with Xfinity Series qualifying. That's on the NBC Sports app at 2:30. USA is the site for Cup Series qualifying. The Dale Jr. download, and then countdown to green at 5:30 Eastern, and 6 o'clock the race for the Xfinity Series championship. And Sunday on NBC, it starts at 1:30 with countdown to green. We will set the table and get everyone ready for 3:30 and the Cup Series championship from right here at Phoenix Raceway, and wrap up the evening as well as the season with the NASCAR America Post Race Show on Peacock at 7 o'clock. Dylan.
Ross Chastain is about halfway through a 20-lap run. That's their longest run of this session, and Junior nailed his analysis. They were a little bit tight in the first run, made some adjustments, a little bit freer on the second run, and now they pumped 2 cans of fuel in this one car and sent Ross out to log some laps. So he was asking as well about some of the shifting techniques of some of the other drivers, where they were shifting, how often they were shifting, so trying to find any edge he can here in this practice session and maybe doing a little bit of R&D work on his own. And by the way, we've seen some cool shots from the garage of the fans that, can get great access to these race cars here when they're in their garage stall. Right at the start of practice, when all the drivers were walking to their race cars, the loudest applause went to this guy, to Ross Chastain. So he's still plenty popular, even on the opposite coast from where we were last week, but a lot of Ross Chastain fans in the garage area here in Phoenix.
Opposite coast, I think he's going to be popular in a few continents. That move right there.
As we go through this practice, Jeff Burton mentioned on a break that temperatures dropping, track's getting faster, so cars are going to run better, make better lap time. Ross did move his 10-lap average up the board a little bit, but everybody's going out there and running quicker lap time, so trying to figure out who is fast, who's getting better. This guy right here, though, Christopher Bell, has not been as good throughout this practice as I'm sure he would like to be. He slipped down to 18th, sit around 15th for most of this practice, now 18th on the board.
What's interesting to me, Junior, and this is a difficult part of racing, we've all dealt with it, is that, the race is going to be over this time of day, and this is the coolest the racetrack's ever going to be, and your car is going to drive better right now than it does at any point tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand as a driver what it is that is acceptable right now that you're not going to get tomorrow, right? Don't fool yourself in thinking your car is better than it is, because you're not going to have this much grip tomorrow.
They're going to have to try to find some speed with this 20. You won't find him on the 5, 10, or 15-lap averages. He comes to pit road to get to the garage to make some adjustments.
We talk about teammates. I think the help for him could come from the 18 car. Kyle Busch is 3rd fastest overall. The 10-lap average, he's 8th.
What a turnaround Kyle Busch has made from a week ago. I think all of us were surprised when we looked up at the scoring monitor and Kyle Busch was 4 laps down to the field and running last at Martinsville. And now we see him in the top 5 here at Phoenix.
Joey, to me, looks, I hate to even say it this early, but he looks like to me to be the more consistent car of the 4 championship contenders. The car with the most consistent pace. Again, not quite as good as his teammate. If they can find some of the things that Blaney has, maybe incorporate some of that into their setup, whether it's air pressure or what have you, he will set himself apart from the likes of Chastain. Chase Elliott's right there. Chase running that long run, though, kind of makes it difficult to know exactly where he stacks up with the other 2. Christopher Bell, obviously, the one needing the most pace to improve.
I like Joey, though, when we talked to him yesterday. The one thing that really resonated is, we heard from a few different, especially the Xfinity guys, making the Champ 4 was a good year, and there was this, and it was that, and Joey was not having it. He goes, nope, that's just crap. I'm here to win a championship. That's what matters. Yeah. And then he doubled down by saying anyone who says that, there's not the pressure or they're avoiding the pressure, he goes, they're just trying to diminish it. He goes, not me. I'm sitting here telling you there's a ton of pressure. I want to be a champion again. There's a ton of pressure, but I'm willing to admit it because I think I can handle it. And sitting there, I was like, he kind of got me pumped up. I'm like, well, man, I'm excited by this energy Joey's brought to this conversation.
He said he embraces it and he goes after it with that pressure that's on him. You look back to March. So this is a racetrack where they have run this car before. Here's the way the Championship 4 finished. Ross Chastain was 2nd in that race. Joey Logano 8th. Chase Elliott 11th and Christopher Bell 26th.
Yeah, but it might as well have been 2015. I mean, March with a new car was so far ago. These teams are doing, just listen to just their vernacular on the radio, to what they're talking about and how they describe the car and what parts and pieces and knobs to turn. They have come so far since March.
That was the other thing that Joey Logano almost laughed when I said, do you take anything from earlier this year when you ran here? And he laughed. He goes, there is so much different now. He goes, we don't even say the same terms that we've come back here. Oh, so close once again for Denny Hamlin in 2022. but it was an incredible move by Ross Chastain that knocked Denny Hamlin out of the championship 4 just mere feet before he got to the finish line at Martinsville. Right now, Denny Hamlin 6th fastest for a lap and 6th fastest on the 5-lap average for Denny Hamlin. Parker.
Well, we weren't the only ones noticing how fast Ryan Blaney is in that 12 car, the 22 car here at Logano that we go on board with throughout this entire run. The team has been telling him his lap times compared lap to lap to Ryan Blaney's lap times on the same tires, laps and tires. So basically they've seen how good that car is and sort of seen how he stacks up compared. It sounds to me like he's maybe a 10th or 2 slower than the 12 car right now. Logano did come on the radio for the first time and actually give a handling update saying that car is just too tight right now for the 22. So he'll continue here running around those. He's working a little bit in traffic, but interesting hearing them compare themselves to that 12 car.
Look at that right there. Steve Circles at the 9 car went out there and made a run, and he got faster and faster and faster. One of the most impressive runs that we've seen in this practice. He's got his teammates all right there around him. This is the 15-lap average you're looking at on the left side of the screen. All those guys made some great pace here this particular point of the practice. So now I have to reevaluate my estimation of Logano being kind of the better car. I think Chase has stepped it up here in the last 10 minutes.
And are we expecting long runs in this championship race?
I would think, yeah, the trends here are usually like 2 or less cautions in the first 2 stages. We might get 3 cautions or more in that final stage, but we'll have plenty of long runs all weekend long.
Yeah, the race may end in a short run, but you lose all your position if you're not good on a long run. So, you really need a car that can do both. You need a car that can blast off a good speed and a car that can hold on. It's hard to do both, but the very best can find a way.
So just let me make sure I got my checklist right. You want to be good on new tires, old tires, secure in, turn the middle, and have drive off?
That's correct.
Anything else?
That's correct.
Unlikely.
Drivers.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't say that. I know better.
Steve, always quick to comment on the drivers and what they want. Parker. Speaking of drivers.
Guys, you guys noted, you noted how it's going into nighttime here, and as we've gone into nighttime, guys, I just want to point something out. It is getting seriously cold. It's about to drop almost below 60 degrees as we head into the nighttime here, and there's definitely a chill in the air, so we know the racetrack to be picking up speed. You mentioned the 9 going really fast. When I look at the weather for Sunday, it's going to be almost 80 degrees in the middle of the day. So this is definitely interesting temperature differences to what we're seeing right now compared to what they're actually going to have and race day. I think it's a bit of a stretch trying to extrapolate this out.
Hey Parker, how about is there any scurrying down there for that last set of tires? I'm wondering in the last 5 minutes I see a couple cars sitting on pit road. Are we thinking qualifying runs out of anybody?
Oh, it'll be interesting to see. We don't get to tape them up anymore, right? But you can definitely pump those tire pressures up, and the drivers tell me it's a lot of grip. I have not seen any screwing around amongst the championship 4 at this moment, tire-wise. It seems everyone's sort of sticking to their game plans at the moment, but I'll keep an eye on it.
We do know that all 4 are very, very aware of qualifying and starting up front, as well as pit selection, and that is big. Yes, almost a full moon here above the Phoenix Raceway. Just 2.5 minutes remaining in practice. This could be a mock qualifying run here for the 9 of Chase Elliott.
Just coming now to take the green flag. A little bit of traffic out front. See right here, shift as you would expect.
See, he's got his visor flipped up. Got a dark shield on there, and just it's gotten so dark he can't see it. So he's got to raise that visor up.
Very interesting to see what this pace stacks up with compared to everyone else who made most of their pace, I think. Little breathe of the throttle.
Yeah.
That lap of 27:48, his fastest lap 27:20, that was on his 3rd lap, as we've got Ross Chastain out on the track now. He has completed 40 laps out there. That was 41.
His car fired off really well on this latest run, but falls off quite a bit. I want to work on that. And that's what I thought I saw in the first part of practice. Really quick, shot up the board, top of the board. But after 10 laps, does not match what the 9, the 22 run. He runs a 27.40 on that lap. Compared if these guys are making a mock run right there, it's comparable to Chase.
Be interesting to see what this racetrack does in turns 1 and 2. They changed the way they apply that traction compound over there. They didn't put any of it down this year. Felt like the outside lane was too dominant. Interesting to see how much that affects this race on Sunday. We'll get a glimpse of that tomorrow in the Xfinity race.
See a lot of that rubber drifting up the racetrack. Looking back on Logano.
Yeah, we're on board Christopher Bell's car. Logano's ran him down really quickly. You see how Christopher's struggling on corner exit caution.
That's the end. Yeah, end of practice. The red black flags displayed. And so you mentioned Logano closing the gap there on Christopher Bell, but that ends the one practice session that everyone will have before qualifying tomorrow morning, and then the race on Sunday.
The 20 car Christopher Bell, with all the issues and adjustments, ran the 4th least amount of laps, only 33 laps on the racetrack. So they got some work to do. 22 car locking up the brakes, trying to get to pit road quickly.
Green flag stops. That's what he's thinking. Like, how can I get on the pit road as quick as possible? Obviously, that would be a little too quick. But, hey, man, got to try.
So we look at the 4 championship contenders and how they stack up in practice. Fastest lap was Ross Chastain. The fastest 10-lap average of the 4 was Chase Elliott. Joey Logano, the most consistent.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joey seemed to have good long-run speed. Chase, though, equaled him there at the end of practice. Those two guys neck and neck. Ross has good speed, but got to work on that long-run pace. Christopher has a lot of work to do across the board, which I'm sure they're going to go to work tonight. They got some teammates that are fast, so there's that to look into and try to use all those resources.
I just think right now, when I look at what happened in this practice, I think advantage Chase Elliott. Just feel like he's got the best car on the long run. He has good short run speed as well. So just feel like that team right now is where they want to be.
The weekend is kicked off here from Phoenix Raceway and Championship Weekend. Xfinity Series qualifying tomorrow afternoon. That's on the NBC Sports app at 2:30. Then everything on USA tomorrow. Cup Series qualifying at 3:30. You'll do your download, then countdown to green at 5:30. And the race for the Xfinity Series at 6.
Rick, I called ahead and got you a reservation at that sitting area.
Hey, that's okay. I appreciate you thinking about me. Sunday, countdown to green at 1:30 on NBC. And then a champion will be decided. Will it be Joey Logano, Ross Chastain? Could it be Christopher Bell? Or will we see a second championship for Chase Elliott? More NASCAR coverage always available on NBCSports.com. Coming up next here on USA, it's the replacements. 4 drivers fighting for a championship. 2 looking for their second. 2 trying to find their first. The fastest in this practice session, Ross Chastain. Could he complete this unbelievable run?